to say I...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to what is now the penultimate round here at FRL for the Intermediate A and B Challenge Series here at Laguna Seca. It is currently quite a big grid for what we are used to. It is currently at a whopping, I believe it's just gone 30 cars. I just realised one thing is I've changed my audio settings because I was actually playing ACC for once earlier today, so we'll just change them back to what they originally were at. But we are here at Laguna Seca. I don't really like this track. I believe a few drivers do like this track. Again, it's like a Marmot track, as I discussed in previous commentary sessions here at FRL. I know we are running a tiny bit later. I had a bit of an issue when it came to starting the stream, so I had to get that all sorted out, so it was all looking all spink and spam. But we do now see coming on for the silver qualifying. It does seem Manship has taken pole position in class so far, well, currently overall, but we will see the pro drivers going out very shortly. It's with a 122.8, and I reckon we will see the 120, well, maybe not the 120s, maybe low 21s that we will see here for today's race. It doesn't seem like we're going to see any rain. It does seem to be a very, very clear day here. It isn't very hot either, so it is quite perfect conditions here for today's race. Obviously, this is the Intermediate A and B. We do also have 3 streams going on tonight. It is Aces, also known as Alex Newman. I am a variety commentator for motorsports and also CSGO now as well. As well as we do have Ricky, a good friend of mine, doing the semi-pro commentary. And then we do also have, I believe it's Raven, doing the Alien commentary here for tonight. So it's good to have all 3 streams all working here. As Manship saying, just glad to have you here. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much for the kind words. Manship currently in pole position, then followed by Naito in P2 in class, whopping just over a 10th and a half so far. A 10th and 700th of a second, then followed by Sal as it comes to the end of the silvers qualifying here. We do now see all of the Intermediate A drivers coming out onto track. We will start seeing them going through the corkscrew right now with Onaka and the DSRT Ferrari 296. Currently hasn't been able to set a lap because it is his out lap, obviously. Quite a short circuit with a minute 22. I believe we will see potentially 30 laps here tonight, depending obviously on, well, various different aspects and factors to this. But we do see him now coming onto his first timed lap here. I'm not sure if it is going to be a good lap. It's going to be a base lap to say the least. When he goes on to it, always the first lap doesn't usually go well because you don't have a base time to obviously guide yourself off. But it does seem already driver that who is improving significantly is going to be pooling down in P25 at the moment. Hasn't set a lap as it goes on to his first lap. Ray's still disqualified at this time, being obviously the disqualification only just symbolizes him trying to get his time taken away from him due to obviously not following qualification rules. Obviously 10 minutes going to the silvers and then 10 minutes going to the pro, also known as the Intermediate A drivers, and then the silvers representing Intermediate B. So that is just what it represents. He will have that cleared, I believe, after the qualification session has finished, and will be a penalty applied to the post-race results as well. We're now going through the penultimate corner. It does go a tiny bit wide, but still 1.4 seconds up, and it does seem unfortunately he has invalidated it going onto that corner. So that is going to be him at a slight disadvantage compared to the rest of the drivers so far. We will start seeing some of the rough times here from Intermediate A's as we do see now John taking his first time of a 123.0, so not enough to succeed through of Majip and Naito. Naito's times with the 22s, but we do see it's getting close between those two so far. Just 2 attempts between the top 3. But we do see it's quite scattered out so far. Actually, Onaka placing himself in P16, as well as we do see that it's going to be Jamie Edwards in the Enzo Ferrari 296 in P12 of 123.762. Soleil Chabelle in P8 with the McLaren 720S Evo in P8, and then obviously John in P3. So yeah, once again, quite a scattered out between the 2 classes so far. Obviously, Intermediate A and B aren't really separated by much in terms of pace. In fact, they are practically similar. As we do now see once again, Jamie Edwards currently 7 tenths up on his first best lap time. Could actually creep closer and closer to Jean to take P3 away from him if he can keep this lap time validated. This goes into the final few corners now of Sector 2, going into Sector 3, entering the most challenging corner on this track is the blind corkscrews. It does seem there's going to be a driver there of the McLaren 720S Evo. Just going slow there and almost ruining Jamie Edwards' lap time. Still maintaining about 8 tenths here, going through the penultimate corner now. Is able to keep it clean though, does go over the inside curb a tiny bit too much and does actually sacrifice his entire lap time there. So he is just going to have to try again next lap. Still 5 minutes left to go there, so that's a whopping about 2.5 laps or so, depending where you're positioned on track. As we do see there has been progress here from the intermediate A drivers who have been able to take P1 and 2 away from Chip and Naito. It is now a 122.3 from Poulin in that Ferrari 296, as well as Jean actually improving his time as well with 122.7 as he spins around there going into turn 4. But unfortunately, that's him as well. Well, not unfortunate. It's fortunate for him, but unfortunately for the rest of the drivers as well. But currently in P2 with a 122.7. So as Daniel Trambaglio, a driver who has had quite mixed luck recently, both in this series and last season's series. I'm hoping he could do good because I do vouch for Daniel Trambaglio a bit because I do really like the FMP Italia livery he is running on his car. We do see, hopefully he can maintain a good position during this race. We have seen previously he's had, let's just say, a bit of bad luck when coming to the races with penalties or just collisions in general. Jamie Edwards once again though, currently P15, again trying to get all of this lap time back that he nearly gained last lap. Currently now just over 2.5 tenths. It did seem to sacrifice about 3 tenths going into the final corner, but still now at the 5 tenths mark as he does gain a lot of it going into the penultimate corner. Now go through the final corner, going across the start finish line. He's still going to be a positive lap time. It's just going to put him in P7 there with a 123.1 beat, and instantly unfortunately goes down into P8 as we do see Chabella going up into P6 as well in that McLaren 720S Evo with 123.035. But now going further down as well, echoing a driver we haven't seen just yet here today. Currently going through the corkscrew. 1.2 seconds to his name, trying to creep up further and further. And if he's actually able to do this, he will actually go up a significant amount of positions as he goes through the final corner. It does seem to where most people make mistakes, as he does make a mistake himself. Doesn't cost him much lap time at all. Do not want to be going on that sand. The sand is quite a difficult place to try and recover from. Luckily, this isn't like iRacing or any other sim that has grass or off-terrain problems. But we do see Jaden Eckering then placing himself up to P8. So a huge improvement there from the Dutch driver. So it's going further down. Unfortunately, does see Mark GG struggling in that portion on 9.2. He would have been 1.3 seconds up. It is going to be an invalid lap time so far for him, as well as Munich, as I don't think we have seen here today, actually, or I don't know if we've seen him in the server, the Dutch driver in the Ferrari 296 for Gazelle Motorsport going through the corkscrew. Hasn't been able to set a valid lap time, and he won't be able to do it this lap either. He's gonna have to rush a tiny bit to try and get this time valid, as we do see Kenneth Ray's still disqualified until the end of the qualification session. Now Poulin going free for 1, potentially 2 more laps actually, depending on how much fuel he could have in that car. Just on the border of both the green and the red Delta at the moment. He is on the advantage of the green Delta. Now going through the final few corners of Sector 2. Does have to try to take the camber into turn 6, I believe it is, to obviously get the car rotated, but does seem gets a tiny bit of a late break there going through into the corkscrew for the final, one of the final times for him. Fortunately, does place him into the red Delta momentarily. Can he take it out though going through the final 2 corners? It doesn't seem he's going to be able to. Does unfortunately take the very aggressive curb there on the inside line of the penultimate corner, and that is going to be the end of that lap for him, as well as Jean going across the line. That's at 122.6, so it is going to be a significant improvement from him, but it's not going to be enough for him to actually go up the position so far. It does just show you how actual sparsed out these 3 drivers actually are at the time being, but no one else really improving apart from Onaka. Actually, I didn't see this driver going through now. I believe it's turn 9 going into the penultimate corner as well. The Belgium? I'm not sure how you really say it, but the Belgish driver, that's definitely not how you say it, but we'll go with it. Currently in P16, 3 attempts up, going across the start-finish line now. Does he go up any positions? Yes, he does. Goes up into P10 there, so 6 positions gained that. Just within a second of the leader's lap time, over 123.1. It's actually seeming to be quite a close race so far between these drivers so far. All the way down to P30 is actually all within 2 seconds of the leader, as we can see Jamie Edwards looking to improve. Once again, he's not having luck with finding that time, as in fact he's not going to have enough time at all to getting another lap time in, as he does pull over to decide that. Poulin once again trying to find time, even if it's in scraps at the moment. Going through the final quarter, he will potentially have one more lap. In fact, he will have one more lap. Very, very lucky to have one more lap. He will be one of the only drivers to have this final lap. Crossing the line with 10 seconds left. Going into the first corner so far, he's still able to gain time going into the first corner under the braking, but is he going to be able to maintain it on exit? He gains just a fraction of amount of the time. In fact, about 100th of a second. He is able to increase it though going into turn 2. But for how much will he do it for the rest of the lap? He is just looking, just gain it anywhere, but does seem a tiny bit of pressure for the driver. Unfortunately, overcorrects his car going onto the gravel. That's going to be his qualifying over there. Can he keep P1 at the time being? It does look like Daniel Trambaglio might take it going on the exit here. Taking 3 tenths now as he goes across the line. He will be able to take pole position away from Poulin. Very unlucky there for the Dutch driver, but it is going to be Daniel Trambaglio taking pole position once again for this series. Italian driver setting a 122.205 with only 7 laps of qualification, which is actually potentially the entire of qualifying. Actually, Jean is welcomed across the line. Can he take it away from Poulin? Can he take it away from Daniel Trambaglio? I don't think he's going to have enough time to take it away from Trambaglio. He's not going to be able to take it away from Poulin either, but he was able to represent quite a significant lap time from him there. But that is going to be the end of qualifying here for tonight. It is quite close between actually the entire grid, it seems. Hopefully some really, really good racing to be symbolized from that. Now we do just wait for the server to tick over. It has ticked over. We will do the penultimate grid walk when I have it all set up. Yep. Do you see it again? It's a 30 car grid here for tonight, so it is one of the bigger car grids we have. One of the smaller car grids, the smaller tracks we have, both in, it's quite narrow and it's also quite a short distance track as we go on board. Now, for the grid walkers, there's actually 32 cars, so there has been 2 cars that have gained from this, but we go on board with it. Daniel Trambaglio being able to take P1 on that final lap there, followed down by Poulin. He was nearly able to maintain his pole position, but wasn't able to get the final lap in that he wanted, as well as we can see John Weiser there in P3, or Weiser, I'm sorry, however you say it. Chip in P4, as well as Naito in P5, as well as, I think it's Taran Chabel in P6, followed by Sal in the Porsche 922, as well as Sal and Jamie Edwards in the Ferrari 296, and then Eckering and Naka taking the 5th row here for tonight, as well as we can see Tramby and Emmanuelson taking the 6th row, as well as Spencer and Craig Hill taking the 7th, as well as Perry and Oslage taking the 8th row, as well as James Williams and Audsley rounding out the 9th row, and then Mickey Taylor and Simon Turner, I believe it is, rounding out the 20th position, also known as the 10th row, as well as Mercier and Ziperi and Cassell, as well, all in the top 23. Can be an unlucky number for some. We can also see going through as Munich, as well as Reynolds and Eklund. Mark GG in the Greg's livery, as we can see on the right. Didn't seem to get a good time in for himself there, unfortunately for him, but Boucher, as well as Soling, Bartolucci, Kenneth Reyes, and Cisco rounding out your grid here for tonight with 30 seconds left to go. I think I timed that pretty well. Do you see the Open Lobby Racing here to support once again the drivers that are in his team? Good to see you in chat. Hope you are well. Now we do get ready to go green here with only 14 seconds till the session start. It is, again, you can just see how narrow this track actually is as we go into the formation lap. Relatively short formation lap, should take about 3 to 4 minutes to get all the way around, and then we have an hour of racing. The final hour race that we actually have, and then we do have Nordschleifer for the closing round of the series for the intermediate A and B. I also want to apologise, by the way, if my voice sounds a bit croaky. I was on comms a lot yesterday. Was able to do quite a big opportunity for me. I was working with VCO and VMO for the rFactor 2 touring car, official touring car, UK series, which was really good. Alongside a legend of commentator Chris Buxton from F1 Esports. So my voice is definitely feeling it a tiny bit, to say the least. Let's go into now turn 4. Daniel Trambaglio trying to warm those tyres up without using them very hard onto the first formation lap. Luckily, though, there is only one formation lap in ACC. Otherwise, we would be waiting quite a while. But one thing is, though, we do have that mandatory pit stop, like all of the races, for fuel. Doesn't mean you have to take tyres. And I don't think anyone will be taking tyres for this hour race at such a low track temperature as well. 20 degrees. Even though on screen the ambience makes it look like it's 40 degrees for these drivers. But it's actually quite bearable for them. So as now we can see Poulin, once again the rival of Daniel Trambaglio for most of this series as well. Trying to take another pole position for himself, but can Daniel Trambaglio secure a win? So once then, Jean Weiser taking P3, Matchip in P4, and then it's going to be Naito running out the top 5 for that. In that very nice Porsche 992 Nerd 2024 liveries, we can actually see the drivers starting to formulate side by side here to get ready for the start of this race here for the penultimate race, for the final hour race here, but the penultimate race of the season here. We do see them going side by side. We do see Daniel Trambaglio getting the advantage due to him being in pole position, getting the inside line, going for turn 1, that very tight hairpin that it is, and taking the inside line is going to be crucial to be able to maintain his position of P1, but we will see Poulin try to take it away from him at any site possible. We do see them now going through the final corner. Does seem he is still able to keep it. Well, obviously, no one's going to be able to go just yet, but we will see now them going across the start-finish line in the next few moments here to see who will be able to get a better reaction time. So we do go green here now for the second to last round. As we can see a huge contact already there from Naito, unfortunately going into the wall, into the, well, not even onto the first corner there, as we do see Daniel Trambaglio already getting a bit of pressure there from Poulin on the Ferrari 296, but keeps the position because of the inside line that I was mentioning earlier. And hopefully he can have a smooth drive with it for now, as Naito needing to try and get these positions back that he unfortunately lost on the entrance of this race. Unfortunately, with it being such a narrow track going into the start, it does happen with all of that, as we can see how much damage he's actually given. He's currently in P8. It does say otherwise on the UI, but he is currently in P8. As it stands, trying to get these two positions back that he did lose from Taran and Matchip, but they are going to be side by side with each other going into turn 5 now. Do you see that's actually going to be Matchip getting the position done on him? Very well done from him, but can we see him keep that for the rest of the race? It does seem he has quite a bit of a significant amount of damage as well to the front of his Ferrari 296 as well. It doesn't seem he has a livery on, and that's a lot of damage actually to carry for the rest of the race. If he keeps it, that's a different story, as we can see now Oslage going 3 wide. This can only go wrong here. It's actually going to be 2 cars spinning off this. We'll get a replay on what happened with that now, as that's going to unfortunately be Audsley getting involved with that, as we will get a replay. It does seem to go 4 wide going into the corkscrew. That can only go wrong. Seems that was going to be Turner, unfortunately getting hit there as well. That's going to cause all of that. As Audsley now facing the wrong way going into the corkscrew, as we do see as well Turner trying to get back on as quickly as he can, as we can see as well. I'm not sure who that was. That was Simon Turner once again going off into the final, well, the penultimate corner. It does seem to be a place where everyone is struggling for potential understeer, as we can see him going into the pits now, but we can see now Daniel Trambaglu going down into P2 here, so he made a mistake somewhere, letting Poulin by, as we can also see Jean Weiser behind him as well, running at the top 3, but we do see Weiser actually trying to get this move done on Daniel Trambaglu as quickly as he can. He gets the inside line going into turn 5, as it doesn't work for him just yet. But we do have to see if he can keep it. We can see the slipstream's going to now require him going side by side into the final corner of Sector 2. It isn't going to work for him just yet. It does seem Jean struggling a tiny bit on the top end speed compared to that McLaren, which isn't something you see every day. Going into the corkscrew now, this is a corner you never want to be going side by side on. Very, very steep elevation changes you can't even see in game. But usually game does not do it any justice, but it does seem to do it today, as we can see going down. Perry is going to try go side by side into the just up sector. Unfortunately, James Williams as well getting rotated in it, but it does a perfect pirouette. So I don't think there was much to complain about there. He didn't lose any positions there, so we do get a replay on James's perspective here. Go into the hairpin here. Unfortunately, it does look, what was that BMW doing, man? That BMW just taking the complete wrong line into the corkscrew and nearly ruining a lot of people's races there. But James Williams still able to maintain his position, loses a tiny bit of time, but he is leading this huge train of drivers now, going from P16 to, I believe, last place as it stands now. So James under quite a bit of pressure to try catch the pack back up. As we can see, he's lost a tiny bit of time to it due to the unfortunate contact we saw earlier, but we do see going further and further down that everyone is still able to behave a tiny bit. Kenneth Raids was the driver that did cause that contact earlier. As we can see, there was a yellow flag as well, so we will try and find where that driver is. It does seem to be, unfortunately, I think it has to be Audsley actually, or is it Perry? I believe it might have been Perry. He's gone into pits here as we get a replay. That is a lot of damage, unfortunately, there for the McLaren 720S of Perry. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it does seem he has just stood there on track and had to go back to garage. If that is going to be the final of his races, unfortunately it might be, because that's going to be a lot of damage here. As we can see now, Cassell trying to go side by side with Bergio into the corkscrew once again. Never can go right. Does seem they all do the sensible option though. I'm going single file and trying to get into the next corner. Cassell seeming to be one of the faster drivers here. Team SPX livery looking very, very nice, must I say. Going into the penultimate corner now, unfortunately taking the curb that you should never take as Kenneth Reyes tries to look for a move on, as he does a little bit of a juke move as well, stunt move, as we do see Mickey Taylor going into the pits as well. If that is a strategic option, or if he's got too much damage to continue, as well as we can see the Lexus unfortunately going off there. He's going to lose quite a few positions even off starting the last carry in P23. Unfortunately looks like he's going to be under pressure there from Zimperi, and also Mark GG as well. Zimperi getting the move done pretty efficiently. Same with Mark GG, as Mark GG tries to get two moves done into one corner. It does seem gets that done well there. Now he does try to keep the position, which he has been able to do, but we do see Zimperi trying to go for the inside line going into turn 2 there, so hopefully he can get that back for himself. As it stands, it's still going to be side by side going into turn 3, but Mark GG does just break a tiny bit later to keep the position. As Vietasi, is it Vietasi or Vitasi? I apologise very much if I'm saying it wrong. But we do see him saying ciao and thanks for the fantastic live. You are very much welcome. Thank you very much for the kind words. As we can see now, Audsley, it's actually going to go 3 wide. We have seen this before and it's never gone right. 3 wide going into one of the tightest corners. You see both drivers, the Lexus and Audsley and his McLaren 720S, both going off. But it does seem Bartolucci in the Team SPX BMW M4 benefited quite effectively from it. So I have just seen, you can't see what I see, but I'm not sure. Okay, it does seem James Williams is still in the race, because I just got a Steam notification that said he was just playing Assetto Corsa again, so I thought he might have disconnected. Does seem he is still driving there, which is very, very good for him. That, as we can see as well, Munich now putting a bit of pressure on Craig Hill in the BMW M4. These two drivers, both in different cars, with very different cars, as Craig Hill goes and breaks a tiny bit late there, which does let Munich buy into the lead. Into the lead of that battle pretty easily, to say the least. Let's go further down as well. We need to try and find if there's any other battles going on the track. It does seem we are starting to lose a few of them, which is obviously to expect. After the first few laps, it does start to settle down, but it will start to gain momentum when after the halfway point, where the drivers do the first pits. Is what we do see. That's going to be, unfortunately, Sal making a tiny bit of a mistake, which does lead Ross Spencer to get the inside line going into turn 7. At the moment, it isn't going to work for him just yet. Sal being able to maintain his position of P11 as well. We can see Munich once again trying to look for a move on Ross this time, as we can see. Unfortunately, that's going to be... Is that who I think it is? Is that Trambaglio? No, that must be... That can't... Oh, that's Tramby. Unfortunately, just goes very, very oversteery into the corkscrew. We can see, yeah, does seem just a bit of error wash going into the corner. Does seem that's going to be a bit of a race ruiner as well. And his tyres are definitely going to feel it for the next few laps, to say the least. But going further down as well in the order, we do see Craig Hill once again trying to get his position back that he unfortunately lost. He tries to go for the inside line going into turn one. No space to be given between the two drivers, trying to play it fair, but still trying to give each other their own advantage point. As we can see, Craig breaks a tiny bit late again, which we do see Munich trying to go for the inside line. Little switchback doesn't seem to work for him, as Craig Hill keeps the position back, but is he going to be able to hold it? As we do see James Williams as well ready to pounce at any point to try and get those two positions gained if anything wrong will happen. And if they keep battling at such high intensities like they are currently doing, as they go side by side once again, James Williams and the rest of the field are going to catch up pretty easily, as Craig Hill once again still able to keep that position. But we do see he's going to go on the gravel a tiny bit there, going onto the final corner of Sector 2, which does lead to Munich actually catching up once again, but it does seem a tiny bit of breathing space was made between the two drivers. Go further down as well once again. It doesn't seem anyone is, well, majorly battling just yet. So we do just go back up into Taran's position, currently in P5, putting a bit of pressure there on Jamie Edwards. Not an immediate threat for Jamie as it stands, but if he keeps making silly mistakes like that, we will see Taran potentially gain this position quite easily. But Jamie does not want that to happen, as he wants to try catch up with Jean once again with 1.5 seconds between them both. But now it does seem Jamie's priorities has to be defending, as it does seem two attempts have been shaved out there, as we do see Taran just unfortunately hitting the grass, and it's going to be contact with the barrier for him. Luckily, it doesn't seem to be too much damage for him there, but that is going to be him making contact with the barrier. Unfortunately, just going loose off the exit of the corner, and that's going to be a sigh of relief there for Jamie Edwards, but that's not going to be the best of starts for him, to say the least. Taran now going down into P10 and having trying to get these positions back as quickly as he can be a bit of a task for him. There's still 50 minutes left to go though, so still plenty of time, and that pit stop can play a massive factor for these drivers as well, as we haven't seen any sort of penalties yet. This isn't a track where you can get penalties that easily. Most of them seem as that's going to be contact once again. Unfortunately, Sal getting pit maneuvered by Taran. That's going to lead a bunch of drivers to get past these two drivers, James Williams being one, getting a lot of freebies there. Going up to P11 now, once again putting a bit of pressure on Craig Hill for position. So we do see again a car seeming to go yellow on the sides of... I can't see him at all. I'm assuming it might be a disconnect. No, it's not a disconnect. That is just a car. I believe it might be Munich. It's not Munich. Who is it? You get a replay on what happened with Munich here, but it does seem he lost quite a few positions as well, but it doesn't seem it has been displayed in the replay though, so that it's a bit of a mystery there, to say the least. So as we can now see Mark GG as well, trying to put a bit of pressure on Eklund for position. Two great looking liveries, two very, very different cars. It does seem Eklund goes a tiny bit wide into the entrance and exit of turn one, but does seem he is able to keep with it. The scene with Mark GG still being able to hold. Well, actually got past Eklund there. I'm not sure what actually happened there, but he was able to keep it by. I was just getting a bit of a dip in my water, but it does seem he unfortunately got by in Eklund's case. But Mark GG now having a sigh of relief to get that position done, to try to get by the next one. He has a bit of a task ahead of a 2.5 seconds to catch, but there is so much time left to do. He can potentially do this. Now we do see it's going to be redemption here from Taran. Or is Sal going to be able to keep this position now going into the penultimate corner? He does look to like to do a bit of a juke there, but Sal putting his car in a very unpredictable place for Taran. It's going to lead him to not be able to gain any sort of line advantage there, as we can also see now Bergio behind him, one of the silver drivers attacking one of the pro drivers, now going into the first corner. It's the one risk of battling so much between drivers is how much time you're going to lose to the cars behind, as we have been shown many of times. So it's now Tranby, after the unfortunate event, going through corkscrew, now trying to get these positions back, and now on the rear of Cisco in that Lexus car you don't see very often, but with obviously the bops implemented. Obviously right now it's just ACC bops, but it does seem it's still working somewhat for the Lexus, as we can see Tranby goes up into P23 there. And he does able to keep it, as we can actually see as well. Munich trying to get these positions back after he lost them as well. He does seem to have quite a bit of damage there. Does seem Bartolucci not giving him much of a fight there, almost giving the position up. As now he has some, well, potentially have to do this with Tranby behind him as well. Tranby all over the rear of him, going on to the 47th minute left. Does seem a tiny bit of a gap was created, but is Bartolucci going to have the battle for this position, or is he got to do the same thing he did with Munich? At the moment, it doesn't seem any sort of battle is happening, mainly because Tranby isn't close enough to actually make a legal move just yet, but he does just actually start creating a bit of a gap for himself now. So that is definitely going to be a sigh of relief for Bartolucci, that his pace is starting to be a tiny bit better than Tranby's. It's time to put the pedal to the metal just ever so slightly, but we can see that's going to be Cisco making a very bold move there on the 992 of Reynolds, and now because of that risk he took, he's now paying the consequences, and now it's going to go side by side with the other Team SPX car of Cassell for position. But he's going to have the inside line, so he can defend this and potentially have a second chance of this. But Cisco maintaining in P24 in his Lexus, Cassell still in P25 in the Ferrari 296. Oh my days, what happened there? That's actually going to be Cassell practically out of this race, as it does seem that was him going into the barrier at quite high speeds there. Just unfortunately going on the gravel just ever so slightly, just causing the car to get unsettled there. Unfortunately, that's going to be him with a hefty amount of damage, as you can see it to the front. I think he got quite lucky though in terms of the damage he has sustained, but it's still going to be rather difficult to handle for about 45 minutes we have left as we go through the first quarter of this race so far. Go further up as well, we can see Jamie Edwards now in fact still in the second range between him and Jean, as we do see Sal as well. Unfortunately, the person who has been overlapped now by these drivers. Once again, a yellow flag was waving. Can't see where the yellow flag was waving. There definitely was one at some point, as we can go further down as well. Tarrant now in slipstream, very strong slipstream radius of Craig Hill. Once again, he goes into the final corner of sector 2. Now creeping ever so closer towards the corkscrew. Very challenging corner, half blind as well, going through the first part of it. The elevation change is so immense you can't even see the car, and you practically only see sky and floor. So as you can now see Craig Hill actually starting to put the pedal to the metal a tiny bit as well to try catch Mercia, the two BMWs, followed then by James Williams. Following this little train of 4 drivers, we can see as it could potentially come 5, as we do see Kenneth Reyes in the background as well. We do see further down that it's actually going to be side by side between Tarrant and Craig Hill, but it does seem Craig Hill still able to maintain his position in P12. For how long? We do see it's going to be a swerve there from Tarrant to try to go for the inside line. It isn't going to work though. Craig is going to brake significantly later than Tarrant going into turn 1, and he's once again able to maintain his position. Does seem Craig Hill doing a fantastic job at the moment of defending his position compared to Tarrant, who's not been able to get past legally so far because of the placement of Craig's car. Between the two drivers, the last lap times are quite similar, but it's still quite a difference as well. Craig Hill doing a 124.5 compared to Tarrant Chabal with a 124.0, so a 5/10 difference between the two drivers, which it can actually be quite a bit when thinking about it. And the fact he hasn't been able to get by just yet just shows that Craig Hill is still all in for this battle, as we can see now the other two drivers are actually catching at quite a significant rate. Both Kenneth Reyes and no, it's actually not going to be Oslage who's catching up, as we do see him now trying to go side by side going into the penultimate corner, getting the outside line. Actually could be quite a good strategy, gets the inside line going into the final corner. Now this might be the chance for Taron to get this position at P11. It does seem he's going to be able to get it. Are we could see any sort of retaliation from Craig? I don't think so, because it does seem Craig already losing quite a bit of time and now being left for dust, as now we can see Kenneth Reyes wanting to try and catch up with Craig Hill for the position number 12 now, as he loses P11. Kenneth Reyes in the Walkenhorst Motorsport BMW M4 as well. As you can see, I believe that's going to be Tranby behind him, or is it Trambaglio? I can't actually tell who that could be. That is going to be Tranby behind us. Do you see that's going to be a cut off? That's going to be Mercia off into the gravel there, as we get a replay of that. Seems going into, I believe it was turn 4. I might be wrong there. Trying about with seems to be, unfortunately there, trying to battle with James Williams, goes a bit too far onto the gravel / dust and just unsettles his car and just spins it around, putting himself down into P60, and so loses 3 positions there. And that is going to be a bit of a beating up moment for himself there. But I have seen this before, and there's definitely perseverance to be key to try and get those positions back, as there's only 3 cars and they're actually still in quite a close sight of one another, so it could literally just be like bowling. You can just get these 3 pins down very, very quickly as we get closer and closer to the 40th minute now. 20 minutes in, we'll start seeing the early parts of the pits starting to approach, as we can actually see Madship, Mickey Taylor and Sal, all 3 of those drivers pitting for their mandatory pit stop with their damage that they might have sustained on the first lap or so. As you can see now, Mercia trying to gain back on Eklund, but it's not going to work for him just yet. But going further up as well, as you can see Taron Chabel putting a bit of pressure here on James Williams this time. In fact, it might have been James Williams getting by Taron by looking at the leaderboard. But can we see a retaliation here from Taron? It doesn't seem so just yet. He's just all over the rear of him, trying to put pressure here on James Williams, one of the admins at F4 As it stands though, Taron's still able to be in quite a strong slipstream proximity of James Williams. We do see Craig Hill as well starting to creep up, as well as Kenneth Reyes. So again, a train starting to happen, and I think this is one thing that will happen around the track like Laguna Seca. It's definitely a more difficult track to overtake on, trying to use obviously sector 2 as an advantage point for overtaking, because corners like this, the corkscrew, is practically impossible to overtake on. You can obviously overtake on it, it's just very, very difficult when you're on the offline going through such a difficult corner with such difficult elevation changes like that. So as we can now see Taron gaining a lot of time going into the penultimate corner. Can James keep up this defense for the next 40 minutes or however long he needs to keep it up for? Does seem to start to create a ton of bit of a gap there after the exit of the final corner. He instantly tries to go for the inside line there, as well as Taron just swerving for the inside line to try and get any sort of benefit there, as we can see Craig Hill as well braking a tiny bit later because of his little consequent of braking too late. We can see now he's going to lose the position of Kenneth Reyes. Does seem Craig starting to need to learn about braking. Obviously getting a bit impatient on the brakes there, wanting to brake as little as possible to try gain on these drivers. He gains it momentarily but loses it all, and even loses a position, as we can now see Taron trying to go side by side with James Williams going into turn 5. He is going to get the move done momentarily, but can we see James Williams try to get the switch back going into the inside line? No, we will not. From now, Taron going up into P9. Is there going to be retaliation there from James Williams, because he is still in the close proximity? Taron can definitely make a mistake, and we can definitely see James Williams obviously make the position on pace as well as we go through the corkscrew. Both drivers able to make the corner practically perfectly for themselves, as it stays in the current position orders. There's only one other battle on, well, 2 other battles on track. So that's going to be Emmanuelson, a driver we haven't seen too much on. Ross Spencer as well behind, well, in front of him, as well as we can see the free train that is starting to happen. James Williams starting to lose Taron Chabel there, unfortunately. But P10, as we can see Kenneth Reyes starting to come in sight of James Williams. And this is where he needs to start either prioritizing attacking on Taron or prioritizing defending from Kenneth Reyes. As we can see Craig Hill as well starting to gain back as he loses the position to Kenneth Ray's earlier, as we saw on stream. Now getting back in with it, it doesn't seem anything much has happened, as we will start seeing the pits starting to happen. As we can actually see a handful of drivers have pitted from P24 all the way down to P31. Seems we have unfortunately lost a driver either to retirement, and I believe that was Perry. Actually, I don't know if Perry's still in the race. That was the driver that did return to garage earlier, and I believe it is Perry that unfortunately has retired from the race after a lot of damage he sustained on the first few laps. As we can see again, there is seems to be, is that Bergio? It seems to have been Bergio. We've actually just lost another driver, I think. No, Bergio's still in pit, so he comes out of pits actually in P25, but there was a driver. Yeah, it's got to be Oslage there, unfortunately, seeming to go into the barrier there. That's an odd place to go into the barrier, it seems. I'm not sure how he's done. Oh yeah, it's actually going to be the same as everyone else. It just seems he might bombed out his car just a tiny bit going on to the huge elevation change there. Does seem quite a few people have been able to do that, as we do start seeing the first of the pit comers coming around, like Craig Hill is well going into the pits to try to do some sort of undercut to try and gain positions with it, but we will see if that will have to work later on, as we do see approaching the halfway mark. This is where we start to see a lot of drivers down the pits. Jaden Eckering now currently in P16, putting a bit of pressure on Audsley in P15. Two drivers in pretty competitive, well, the most competitive cars on the grid in ACC, the Ferrari 296 and the McLaren 720S Evo. Both classes the next gen cars as they approach. Now Eklund, that's actually going to be a very, very late break there from Eckering. Going to lose quite a bit of time there to Audsley in the OLR livery. It's now going to go down to a 1.4 second, 1.5 second gap. Now that's going to be a sigh of relief for James, so he can actually prioritise trying to get past Eklund for P14 here. It's all down to who can get the better exit onto the final corner. It doesn't seem any of them do, actually. They're both quite even. Now going into turn one, so that's also going to be a sigh of relief for Eklund to today start gaining positions left, right and centre for the people who are going into the pits. Mercier and Reynolds entering the pits as we speak. As we do see Audsley in P14 provisionally so far. You see him and Eklund both have to do the pit stop if they've got to do the similar pit stop gains, and if they've got to go on the same lap or they've got to go on different laps. That's all something to find in the future. As well as that is going to be one of the only actual close battles to stay on, so we'll stay on board with this so far, as we will wait for Jamie Edmonds one, which actually is approaching quite quickly as well. Now going through the final corner of sector 2, does seem Audsley's able to gain quite a bit of time, but he does make a tiny bit of a mistake there on the exit. Almost loses the back end of his car, but he does now just go all over the rear of Eklund. Once again, entering the corkscrew. Eklund doing a different line there. Might have a bit of damage there. Potentially a puncture from how severe he hit the ground there, but gets past Eklund quite easy, as Eklund unfortunately makes another mistake there. That's going to be him losing quite a few positions. As we get a replay and what just happens, he goes through here. That's where he goes through the corkscrew very, very aggressively. Takes the outside line. That's a very, very odd snap oversteer moment that happened there. Seems to be a mid oversteer snap, which did cause that little jittering in the steering inputs that you could see from the wheels, which did cause the driver to unfortunately go onto the gravel. There he goes into the pits now. Will sustain some dirty tyres as well as cold, as it does seem he enters the pits. But that is one thing that is going to be a bit difficult for the driver to get by. Dirty tyres usually lasting about a sector or two, but usually more sustaining barely to no grip for him. So it's definitely going to be just a waiting game to get all of the, well, all of the dust and whatever else is on the tyre off. There's now Bergier in P24 looking to put a tiny bit of pressure there on Mercier in the 277 BMW M4. We can see Sal is well behind. Sal not having the greatest of races so far. Actually, no, he has actually been into the pits. So that might change everything as well, because now we do see practically around half of the grid have done their pit stops now. So this is when we start seeing the pit rush starting to happen. So we do see another two cars of Oslage and Reynolds both in the pit. But has Reynolds actually came out? Yeah, there we go. He does drop on the stand there as it comes out to do and serve his mandatory pit stop. Taron once again on fire, trying to get these positions back there. He unfortunately lost earlier from the incident he had. Now we do see him and Ross Spencer, the two drivers in two completely different cars, practically. Two different makes, one being Italian, one being British / Kiwi. So as it stands, Spencer's still being able to hold it off, but Taron has been on fire recently on attacking these drivers on track. Goes into the final corner of sector 2 now. He tries to go for a very, very optimistic line, going up and leading into the hairpin of the corkscrew. Doesn't seem to work for him just yet. He just has to wait for another moment. Always being patient is the key goals for success here, as we can see Emmanuelson as well, and 167 McLaren 720 is actually catching up as well, creating a tiny bit of a train once again. Train's not being great for the middle driver, but not being great for Ross either. But Ross leaps into the pits there. So we do see that's actually going to be Mercier. Oh, that's actually going to be contact there between the two drivers. We will get an incident replay on what happened with that, as it does seem to be Mercier, yeah, down in P15. As we get a replay, he spins, which does seem that there's no contact between the two drivers, but it does seem Mercier's sprint had to cause the Ferrari of, I believe, Asbergio to have to do some sort of retaliation to avoid it, and that has caused them both to lose those positions. So now we do see them now battling on Emmanuelson, which is actually going to be key here for Taron, for him to get these positions well stated. You can see again another yellow flag, because I believe that's going to be Reynolds going slow there in P31 so far. Very good for him there. Cisco in P18 starting to gain these positions left, right and centre, as we can see now. As we're far enough into the race, he's the biggest winner and loser in terms of positions so far. Does seem the biggest position. Wow, that is a big amount of positions gained. There is going to be Kenneth Reyes in P10 so far, with 20 positions gained, starting in P30. Obviously starting with the disqualification to his name due to wrong qualification orders. We do see now Bartolucci and Cisco going into the pits. But that is going to be him with the most amount of current overtakes, followed then by Mark GG with 16, as well as tied by Bartolucci and Cisco. It's actually going to be Bartolucci now with 11, no 10, but it's going to drop now because they're both in the pits. But we do see, unfortunately, the biggest loser in terms of positions is going to be Madship, starting in P4, now in P17. Not great for him there, but hopefully he can gain it back with the rest of them going into the pits. As we see now, that could be a good strategy with an undercut that he might have performed. We will have to find out later into the race. The fastest race time so far is going to be from Poulin with a 122.2, so that is practically matching the qualification times we saw earlier, so that is good to see there. So there is definitely not much pace difference between qualification and race share for tonight. Most drivers in the 24s and 25s, a few drivers in the other time realms either faster or slower, but all of them still being in the close proximities. Eklund now under a bit of pressure from Oslage behind, but once again trying to put pressure on Bergio in front to try to get this position done without losing too much time to Oslage behind. With 27 minutes left to go, all of these drivers pitting, so now it's all just a fight till the end of the race for these three drivers. Do see now there was a bit of a mistake there from Terrence. We do see unfortunately Ackring being given a stop go 30 for himself. That is going to lose him a significant amount of positions. So do see him now coming into the pits to serve it. Stop go 30 is usually given from, well, automatically from the game from speeding in the pit lane, but can be given manually by an administrator or a steward for other consequences. But with no live stewarding being present in this race, it is going to be automated stewards by ACC, so that is going to be a pit lane speeding penalty fine. Unfortunately for him, going to be costly. "24 minutes left to go." Taran now putting a bit of pressure now on Onaka position, so he is actually going to try and go side by side now. It's Onaka, it's a tiny bit of a mistake here going into turn 7, I believe. Does get the move done quite efficiently there. Brilliant move there from Taran, going up into P8 for now, as we do see the final 3 coming into pits now, apart from Emanuelson, who is currently leading but hasn't done his pit stop, so we'll put him down potentially into P15. But we do see Naito and Audsley both going into the pits as we speak, as well as now Eklund starting to catch up with 23 minutes left to go. Boucher trying to go for the inside line going into turn 6 isn't going to work for him just yet. He has to just again wait until he can, as Oslage looks like he's eliminated from this battle for now, but Eklund being able to once again keep it for P19, but could potentially lose it to Bergio behind in P20. As well as we can see Kenneth Raids putting a tiny bit of pressure on Magic for position, but it does seem we can also see a Porsche, as I believe that is actually not for position, so there is no Now pressure here from Kenneth Raids that he just wants to try and get past Madchip, but the factor of traffic, which I can only assume is faster traffic by the pace difference between the two drivers, will throw a bit of a spanner in the works for him to have to try and manage giving the blue flag space up before a penalty is applied for not obeying the blue flags. But I actually am not sure if this is for blue flags. It's not for blue flags. It just seems Matthew Reynolds is a tiny bit faster than Kenneth Reyes at the moment. The same with Eckering behind. These two are for position, I think. Actually, no, these two aren't even for position either, so it does seem they're on different laps as well. But it does seem Eckering seeming to be a tiny bit faster as well than Matthew Reynolds, is reducing them now, go side by side for position. But Kenneth Reyes being able to get the move done even before the corkscrew there. So that's going to be a sigh of relief for him, not having to go side by side going through such a difficult corner. As we do see now, it's going to be Kenneth Reyes going up into P12 and Madchip going into P13. As well as that, we will just see if there's any other huge battles starting to happen on track. As it stands, that is going to be potentially it for the rest of the race. But we do see now Mercia actually, I'm not sure what happened with Mercia there. Have we just had a disconnect from Mercia? I think we just had another disconnect, you know. Actually, no, I don't think we've had a disconnect. It's just he's not displaying on my screen anymore, so I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, it's not even displaying at all for me anymore, but we do see Oslage again on Mickey Taylor. I haven't seen Mickey Taylor all race already, apart from when he was coming into pits. So it's good to see him on air now, as we do see them both going side by side here. Oslage getting the inside line, so it's going to be an extreme benefit here for him going into turn 1, but it is still going to be him gaining the position even before turn 1 starts. You see Mickey Taylor wanting to try and retaliate, but can he retaliate in that McLaren 1020S Evo? Do go further up as well. These two drivers, it's again starts, well, it's either on an early stage of formulating another little train, or it's just on the cusp of ending it, which I think it might be the second option. As well as Mickey Taylor, as we were just spectating, losing time now to Craig, as that's going to be unfortunate there for him. With 21 minutes left to go, will he lose any more positions, or will he be able to stay in the same? As we do see there is a yellow flag there, as I assume, I'm not sure who that was actually. I believe it might have been Reynolds. Yeah, Reynolds going slow there going into the corkscrew, so I can only assume. Why is there being a spun? I think that's Eckering, and it does seem there might have been contact, which you see Reynolds reversing on track there. Oh my day, that was almost catastrophic between Mark GG and Reynolds. Just, it wasn't really a rejoin, he was just reversing on track, and he tried to do a 180 and almost hit Mark GG there. We do see now, with 20 minutes left to go, nearly going into the teen digits left of time, as we do see that's actually going to be Jamie Edwards being able to get the move done on Sean Weiser for position. So a huge move there from Jamie Edwards. Can he actually catch up to Daniel Trambaglio now? We do see Emmanuelson going into the pits now, so we will all see all of these drivers being bumped up a position now when they pass the pit lane. But we do see it's going to be Jamie Edwards in P3, and it's going to be Jean in P4, Daniel Trambaglio in P2, and Poulin in P1 with quite a comfortable lead, to say the least. So he's got nothing to worry about for the next 90 minutes, just keeping it on the road and trying to stay somewhat consistent. Now, Jean's main focus to try to get this position back for P3 as Jamie Edwards took it away from him last lap as he goes side by side going into turn 1. Both of them still having the same advantages. If Jamie Edwards tried to stick in still for that position, he would have had the inside line going into turn 2. It does seem now Jean gets his position of P3 back, and he does try to stay with it comfortably, but he almost makes a catastrophic mistake going into turn 5 there. So luckily he was able to keep at it as he goes into turn 6 now. Oh my days, that was honestly making a tiny bit of a mistake going into what I believe is going to be, yeah, turn 6 there, but was able to keep it on track there. Still in P15, but we do see now Biggio behind him, looking to get this move done with 17 minutes left to go. Can Audsley hang on to it, as we do see that's going to be a slow Ferrari there. I'm not sure what Ferrari that is. Has to be Eckering, who's still going slow. I'm not sure what's happened here. Does seem going into the corkscrew. He makes contact with Poulin. That luckily it wasn't too fatal between the two drivers, but we do see he again tries to get back up the speed, but then again slows down on the lay-by area. He comes into pit, so I'm not sure what's happened with this driver. It doesn't seem he has much damage, but I think it must be something to do with, what's it called, anything to do mechanically. I'm not sure what's happened there, unless he's ran out of fuel. But actually, it seems he's actually left the session there, so I'm assuming he's had a rage quit moment. Oh god, we have lost so many drivers, it seems. Yeah, it seems we have lost a whopping 5-6 drivers since I last mentioned it, so something's definitely happened. I'm not sure what's happened. That is a lot of people who have lost them, lost championship points, to say the least. It's OLR still in chat. Mickey and Jim, keep it clean, lads. Good points on the table here. Exactly, as we're on board here with James, also known as Jim for him. Audsley, brilliant second name. I really like the name Audsley. Putting a bit of pressure here on Mickey Taylor for P14. Once again, championship points are crucial at the moment. Going on to the penultimate round, we do have again the most challenging circuit for these drivers next week, which is going to be Nordschleife for 90 minutes. Might not be the most interesting in terms of qualifying because of how big the track is and how well, honestly, there's still not actually, you can't really class it as little drivers. There's still 31 drivers that showed up here today, but compared to a track that's so like huge compared to like Nordschleife, it's definitely going to span the grid space a tiny bit, and there's definitely going to be probably a bit less talking, I would reckon. But my excuse here for today is my voice is absolutely killing. This is my last one of the week, I think, so I get to have a bit of a chill out until, unless I'm doing stuff Tuesday, but that's not actually important at all, really. But Audsley, still the OLR driver, being able to try and stay somewhat consistent to keep up with Mickey Taylor, trying to stay in his mirrors to just put a bit of pressure on him, which I think he's doing successfully. Being able to keep it consistent as well. Two major factors with it, as well as James Williams, now the one of the FRL admins. Does seem he's going to be able to catch up again. Doesn't seem he's going to be able to catch up for long though. Can he get past Craig Hill? Craig Hill actually in P6 at the moment, so this has got to be some very, very good points that they could actually achieve at it as well. As OLR says, Mickey's pace from the first race to now is on fire. It definitely is, to be fair, between the two drivers. I believe Mickey Taylor is one of the OLR drivers as well. Yeah, he is. So this is actually teammates here battling each other, so hopefully they're not going to be too cruel with each other, to say the least. As Kenneth Reyes unfortunately said, for me, a connection lost. Oh, that's so unfortunate. I believe I saw you coming into the pits there. Actually, no, that was another driver there. As we do see Mickey Taylor losing the position, there's actually going to be a tiny bit rough between the two drivers. Audsley almost going off there, but was able to keep the positions. We do see Mickey Taylor trying to retaliate. There's almost a tiny bit of contact there going into turn 2. Does seem Audsley losing the position once again. Does seem going into turn 3. Taylor's going to be able to have the inside line for the next corner, but now this is where it's going to be a huge advantage for Audsley if he's able to maintain it. He's not able to maintain the side-by-side formula, but does seem Mickey Taylor staying in P14, and it's going to be Audsley still in P15. Still 13 minutes left to go, so by all means there's still plenty of time for battling to happen, as the Porsche 914 sector, what a name, saying go Taron. Taron currently in, if I can find him. Where is Taron? Taron currently in P5, so he's made an absolute rapid recovery from his mistake at the corkscrew in the first of few laps. Now currently in P5 for the SimTech racing team. SimTech being a racing team in esports that seem to be absolutely everywhere. They're dominating the market at the moment, being in a lot of leagues that I cover in as well. Good to see them coming into FRL as well. Taran being one of the drivers, currently in P5 after his mistake, so huge gains here from Taran, and definitely will lift his spirits when it comes to the championship as well. Goes a tiny bit wide into the penultimate corner, able to keep it on track. Sorry, not chat. Compared to what we've seen earlier with other drivers, we do see again Audsley trying to get by Mickey Taylor, putting pressure on Mickey Taylor. So we do see he was able to get by momentarily from Mickey Taylor, but Mickey Taylor was able to get back by. So these two drivers both on very, very similar pace differences at the moment. Both in the same car as well, so it's all going to be down to setup and driver confidences around this track and the car. Assuming they're both in the same team, I'm not sure if they're running the same setups or not. If so, that definitely eliminates a factor between the two drivers. But if the OLR guys can say us about that, they go side by side into the end, or the exit there, of the corkscrew. They make a tiny bit of contact. Luckily, it was only a tiny bit of door rubbing, so these cars can handle that. Not as much as we can see with BTCC cars, but they still are able to tolerate it. Does seem Audsley back up into the, well, not really the original position he was in, but goes back up to P14. But once again, Mickey Taylor trying to challenge him to get his position back for P14. But now it's not going to work for him just yet, as he has to wait for another time to be able to do it. We're just coming closer and closer to single digits of time left. We do see Audsley breaks a tiny bit later again and almost takes the wrong line through there, almost keeping the door open, as we can actually see Bergeau involved in this. Now these two have been battling so heavily between each other. Bergeau's been able to catch up, as well as Zamperi in this distance, so this could be actually quite a big fight for the rest of the race between these four. As we can see, a yellow flag has been waving, so I'm assuming there has been a tiny bit of a incident between a driver here. I'm trying to see who it could have been. Has it been Tramby? It might have been Tramby, because he has lost the position there. So it does seem his car's fine though, as Tramby in P20 for FMP Italia, with his teammate in P3, currently on the third podium step, bronze in the other FMP Italia McLaren 20S Evo, trying to put a bit of pressure on Jean, who we can see in the blue OLR. Bentley currently in P2 for the two drivers. Mickey Taylor once again. Again, just trying to catch up to Audsley. Does seem once again Audsley making a mistake going into turn one, nearly recreating history between these two drivers a few laps ago. As it does seem he's trying to just find a lapse in security now. Mickey Taylor on Audsley's defense, as we can see as well. I'm just trying to think about this and how many laps we have left. Thinking of it, we have roughly 5 laps of racing, more or less. Is that going to be enough for Mickey Taylor to regain it, or do we see Audsley starting to create a tiny bit of breathing space for himself? I can't really tell, as we do see as well. This could be another factor as Bergeau and Zamperi behind us. We do see this could be... What? Who was that? Who was that was off? I thought that was actually Audsley for a second, but it's not Audsley. But that's going to be a car off. Is that... It's not Jean. Is that Matthew Reynolds? I believe that could have been Matthew Reynolds that was off going into the corkscrew there. Currently the other OLR driver, currently P24. Definitely not been his race, unfortunately for him, as we do see both of the OLR cars next to each other there on track. So we... Oh, there's been a lot of chat action there. We'll get back to that in a minute. We do see now Ross Spencer all over the rear of James Williams. Will he be able to get by though? As it stands, I'm not too sure between the two drivers. Ross Spencer being a driver we have seen quite a few times during this race. James Williams on fire though during this race as well. 8 minutes left to go. Anything can happen though between these two drivers. Can James Williams fight off the pressure for that 8 minutes, or will we see Ross Spencer get by? There's also other factors as well, but anything can happen, as I just said earlier. Let's go back to chat. Jaden Eckering saying, I wasn't rage quitting, I was just driving and I lost concentration. That's why I hit the leader and I thought it wasn't useful for me to go on. If I said you were rage quitting, I apologise. I didn't mean it in that way at all. I think that's just what I say about every driver when they leave. I either say disconnect or rage quit, but I don't obviously intend it to mean as a rage quit. Anything can happen with it, but it's unfortunate there for you. But hopefully going on to the final race, luck will be on your side, as we do see then Ola saying get in the Jean P2 baby. Hopefully he stays in P2. It is quite a comfortable gap between him, both in front and behind, as we do see Paris with either the letter letter I or what character or no integer. Oh my days, my brain is starting to go. I've been up for way too long. Now as well, what we do see is Ross Spencer trying to gain a bit of time here on James Williams. James starting to put his foot down a tiny bit to try and create a gap between them both. Only battle left on track between these two drivers with 6 minutes left to go. Single digits now. 3 laps left to go almost. Depending on where the leader is on track. Doesn't seem anyone else is actually going to be able to keep up with him. Though James Williams starting to create a gap. Once again, this is his ideal situation, as we can see as well. Emmanuelson behind him in that McLaren 720S Evo. Now currently in P9. Madship is out of sight so far, which is definitely a positive for Emmanuelson, as he can try to focus on gaining time on Ross Spencer, as you can see he is doing. There's James Williams now just trying to focus on defending as much as he can at all costs. His main priority is it does only have 2.3 seconds to gain till Craig Hill to drive up ahead, as we can see on the track map in the top right of the corner so far. Jaden Akron saying, you're doing a great job. Love listening to the commentary. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciated. My voice is starting to go though, so this is the worst commentary that you'll probably get from me, unfortunately. But that usually happens when you get to the end of the week, because I've been doing quite a bit recently. Got quite a cool opportunity yesterday. That if Twitter is, actually I don't post much on Twitter anymore, but Twitter is the exact same, as well as I don't think FRO posts on Twitter much either. Anyway, so just obviously follow them on all social medias that you do have, them being Instagram. Remembering to subscribe on the YouTube for FRL, as well as if you have Twitter, drop them a follow. No, I'm not sure the account is active anymore, but obviously every little helps with it. I'm not sure if they have any other socials. I believe that might be it. The amount of action we've seen won't be helping with my voice. That's 100% true. 100% true. But yeah, luckily next to me I'll have my practically live support for my voice, which is a Steam machine, which I'll definitely be putting on after the commentary to try and recover my voice, so I can actually speak over the weekend. But luckily as well, next week my entire audio layout will be changing, so this will be the last time you hear this microphone, because I've been using this pretty dirt cheap microphone for quite a bit of time, but it's still served me very well. I put quite a bit of time into just making sure the audio levels were right with it, but from next week I'm actually got quite a professional microphone coming, which is coming tomorrow, as well as not a Go XLR, but audio mixer, which I'll also use for musical stuff as well. I'm pleased that I couldn't make the race tonight. Just watching has been mega. What if you don't mind me asking, what driver are you then? Because I'm just trying to see if I remember everyone's names because I have been here for 2 seasons now, so I should start knowing people's names. But obviously, when there's 2 splits, it's quite difficult because only the splits were determined this season, because there was a few drivers from last season, like Madchip, for example, and Mark GG, that were in the same split that I was commentating in last season as well. That was around February time. So Jaden agreeing, but obviously as well we do have 2 other streams as well going on at the other time. Sure to like and subscribe for them, as well as obviously at the moment it's going to be semi-pros done by a good friend of mine, Ricky DC's currently the voice of the semi-pro stream, as well as the Alien stream, I believe it's called, is being covered by either Raven or it might be Keddy. I'm not sure who's doing that, but I do know for a fact the semi-pro is being covered by Ricky DC, so definitely go show him some love as well if you haven't already. Josh Red, I see. Yeah, I respect you so highly, you know, for driving the Mercedes, one of my favorite cars. Seems to be doing all right at the Norwich for Life at 24 at the moment. If any of you have watched the qualification series so far for it, the race being this weekend, definitely going to be enjoyable with that. I'm also racing this weekend, which is a bit chaotic. I'm doing Silverstone 24 hours. Not real life, sadly, but definitely, hopefully, my time's aren't too bad. I did a bit of practice. I'm in the 58s, 57s. Want to try win it, but I'm not sure if my teammates are on board with it just yet. But winning would be nice. But yeah, if you're talking about the Mercedes sounds absolutely amazing. I was able to go to Donington Park for British GT last weekend, and just the sound and the whistle of the BMW as well. The whistle of the BMW sounds lovely, but the Mercedes obviously sounds the best. The Audi does sound a bit less ear piercing at Donington than it did at Spa, because obviously Spa being in the valley compared to what Donington is, but the cars do sound quite a bit quieter at Donington than they do at Spa. But this is the joys of GT3s. Hopefully you guys have seen, if you haven't already seen, the M4 GT3 Evo. That it hopefully comes to Assetto Corsa very, very soon. Definitely not been many changes between the M4 GT3 and the GT3 Evo. But the two being quite similar. I think there's a bit of a difference in terms of aero. But it might be quite a dominant car, even though this is the old gen GT3 M4 now, you could call it as. But it's still such a great car, and it's still very, very dominant. Tell Mickey he needs a proper livery on stream. I'm doing this for you, but Mickey, get a new livery, man. Even though the livery is actually very, very iconic, and it's actually really easy to spot when it's Mickey. But Mickey using the Mickey Racing Evo, I believe it's called. But there's his livery. It's still a really nice livery, to be fair. I do like the livery. The yellow and dark red that he has on the livery with the... I actually don't really know. I haven't spent too much time doing it, but I do... I didn't make it, but looking at it, sorry. But I have to say, Eklund's livery, as I say this every stream, looks so, so good. If Eklund does not mind sending me that livery, I'll be very, very happy. You see, all my data's been contacted there on the final lap there. It's going to be James Williams going to be fuming there. As what has happened is we'll get a replay of that as we do go on board with the helicam as we go into turn 2. It does seem that, I think that's Munich going a bit slow. That's actually going to be Bush who just stops there on the outside line, causing James Williams to get a tiny bit of contact to throw his car to the inside line there. Getting more damage there. He's still in P9, so hasn't lost too many positions, but he isn't going to be too happy. But that's all happened on the final lap, to say the least. It's not like blue and green, though. Facts. Melvin Eklund now coming across the line to take P14, as we do see that was the final lap, actually. So we do see Eloy Poulin taking P1, as well as Weiser or Weiser. I'm not sure how you say it. If the OLR guy can correct me, I'll be very, very happy. As well as Jamie Edwards taking P3, Daniel Chambaglia P4, Chabal taking P5, Craig Hill taking P6, as this starts to get a bit awkward now because people are leaving. But as we do see the final few people, Ross Spencer taking the line there, as well as we do see it's going to be James Williams taking P9, as well as Madship and Naito coming across the line. Naito having very, very rough start to the race, but good recovery to say the least from him. Mark GG taking P12 in the Greg livery, and that is going to be the end of today's race. Yeah, I'm also good for James there. We do see everyone practically did a stellar job. You summed it up very, very well there. But we do see it has been a very, very good season to say the least. I've done every broadcast so far, which is a streak for me because I usually miss out one due to just different reasons and stuff. But next week is going to be an interesting race to say the least. Knowledge for Life for 90 minutes, big track. So there is definitely going to be a lot of opportunity, a lot of crashes. I know that for a fact. If you don't know the track, it's going to be a bit difficult. And obviously setups are still very, very new. But I have been your commentator, Alex Newman, also known as Aces. I'm mainly known as now the official BTTC Esports, or the TTUK Esports commentator alongside Chris Buxton, which is great to say, as well as a few things I have in the upcoming months, as well as we do have the other seasons, as well as we do have the Endurance Series season that is currently going on at the same time as this, which will be Knowledge for Life. I believe it's on July 6th. I might have to be correct on that. But get yourself signed up for that, as that is approaching the horizon now. But I am going to have to say good night to all of you. And I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Have a great night. Bye.